you guys think is gonna happen to gold prices, also Bitcoin prices, with this war that's starting in Iran with Israel? And as I'm speaking, US is probably going to get involved. What do you guys think? I'm wondering, whoever is watching this, put down your ideas about coming up what's gonna happen with gold prices, what you think will happen with the economy, and of course the US dollar. I'm not in US or in Canada right now, but it seems like US and the Canadian dollar is also losing its buying power. But I think I'm thinking now that the US dollar is going to lose more buying power, because the acceleration of the US dollar losing its reserve currency is going to start happening more, especially with this war that's happening in Iran right now. I'm in Armenia right now, which is pretty close to Iran, so hopefully no war happens here, but uh, things might spill over here. What do you guys think is gonna happen to US dollar? I don't like to forecast things, but if you have a investment portfolio, if you're investing in US stock market, uh, you're probably going to be wondering if US dollar will decrease its buying power, if US stocks will become less wanted, which will mean the prices for US stocks will go down in general. So that's one thing. I'm not forecasting, but I think that's one thing we should be careful about right now, because the US stock market is at all times high. That's why I'm looking to focus more on the Canadian stock market. And obviously I don't like to forecast gold prices. Right now gold is sitting at 33.79 an ounce, but I think it's gonna end up going higher, especially with the US dollar losing its buying power. What do you guys think? How would you position your portfolio? I'm thinking I'm positioning my portfolio with gold, of course, in mind. But is this the right time to enter gold? I don't like to forecast, like I'm saying. I don't want to forecast what will happen, but I would like gold prices to go down just a bit more to enter any type of gold purchase or any gold ETFs. Personally, I like the Canadian Royal Mint ETF, MNT, with the ticker symbol is MNT on the stock exchange. And I think coming down the road, we're gonna see gold appreciating in price even more. So what do you guys think about Bitcoin? Please comment regarding Bitcoin. I'm not really savvy about Bitcoin. I know a little bit more about gold. I know the history for gold. I know that gold is being bought right now by central banks and the BRICS countries. What do you guys think is gonna happen with Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin going to stay and be part of our currency system? And obviously, if Bitcoin stays and becomes part of our currency system, we're going to have Bitcoin prices go up, because there's limited amount of Bitcoin. I think there's 20 million Bitcoins and most of it has been mined already. So yeah, comment about what you think is also gonna happen with the Iran and Israel war. Do you think it's gonna be a long war? I don't want to predict this. I think if US gets involved, it's gonna be a very bloody war. It might end sooner if US gets involved, or it might not, because if the Iranian regime doesn't collapse, then the US will have to bring in troops and do land operations. And this is why I think there will be some issues coming up now with the US. I didn't think that Trump would put US through a war when its national debt at its all-time high, and obviously wars end up costing a lot of money, and with the US having almost close to 40 trillion in debt, I think financial situation in US and with the US dollar is going to start becoming even worse, with more countries not using US dollar, more countries buying gold, and probably using Bitcoin and other types of currencies like their own national currencies, which is going to erode and eat away at US dollar demand, and it's going to eventually lose its reserve currency status coming up. I didn't think Trump is going to be foolish enough to drag US into another war, but it's happening. So yeah, just comment if you guys are buying gold, if you're looking at what kind of ETFs are looking at in your portfolios. There is a ETF called GLCC. It's a Canadian ETF. I like that one, which I'm looking at buying. It's a covered call ETF for gold and gold miners. And like I said, I'm starting to really think that Canadian companies and Canadian economy and period Canadian companies, especially oil and gas companies and utility companies, have a really bright future given all that's happening right now, with Canada starting to diversify also its energy markets with the new LNG port. So that's another area I'm looking at. And there is a company called Keyera Energy, which ended up buying this LNG company that's selling now the Canadian LNG to China, of course. So there's a lot of things that are happening, and yeah, that's another point I was gonna make is it wasn't attractive to look at Canadian companies before, but as I started looking more and had a deeper dive into Canadian companies, it looks to me that it's better to invest in Canadian companies right now because they don't have the risk of a US dollar crash. They're cheaper than the US companies, and the overall Canadian stock exchange is a lot cheaper right now. And it just looks like Canada has a more place to grow. So just comment, what do you guys think about gold? What do you guys think about this war that's happening in Israel and Iran? And we'll go on from there. Thanks for watching.